It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? It's a neighborly day in this beauty woods, a neighborly day for beauty. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? I was always wanting to have a neighbor just like you. I've always wanted to live in a neighborhood with you. So let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, we might as well say, would you be mine? Would you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Won't you please? Won't you please? Please, won't you be my neighbor? Hi, neighbor. It's Mr. Too Good. How are you doing? I'm hoping you're enjoying your time, your remote learning time. But it's time for robotics, so I want to dig right in with what we have today. So, what we have been discussing today, I hope you all read this article. It's an article actually from Masahiro Mori, and we're talking about the Uncanny Valley. Now, what is the Uncanny Valley? What is exactly the Uncanny Valley? The Uncanny Valley is, all right, this system, this graph to show how your affinity. And hopefully you guys have looked up the word affinity if you do not know what it is. Affinity means likelihood or likeliness or relative, how likable you are to something. All right. So you have the affinity to your family, affinity to your friends, right? You may not have so much affinity to this work or robotics. Doesn't matter to me. I don't care. All right. So anyway, so I wanted to explain this because, like, in the bigger picture of robotics, right? The bigger picture of robotics, where we're discussing how robotics is going to come about in the next couple of years, we need to understand, like, so there are definitely two types of robots, right? There's the Android robots, those robots that you see, the robots that you look at every day, those robots that look like humans, right? And then you have these other robots, so like functional automated robots, things that just do things in factories, whatever the case is, right? So this Uncanny Valley really is really only really dealing. It shows the scope and the spectrum of all the robots that you maybe have seen. But it really deals with those that look human. It really kind of shows you how how people feel about those robots that look human. All right. So let's go right into this copy. I have a copy of it here right now, and I would show it to you. Okay, so the first couple of paragraphs really deal primarily with just trying to explain to you how the graph is shaped and what the graph functions. All right, I know Cassie said at one time she didn't know why we got to learn about math. Math is everywhere. So I just want to tell you that math is everywhere. So you can't get away with not looking at math. You got to find math. Math is everywhere. So I mean, it does make a difference. But so in that understanding, and as we're looking at let's look at the figure. Take a moment to look at the figure if you can. Maybe put it on split screen, right? Look at the figure. So you see, you have industrial robots, then you have toy robots, then you have a prosthetic hand, then you have the Bankaroo puppet, and then the healthy person. What we are trying to attain, what roboticists are trying to attain, trying to aspire, is this idea and concept of what they're trying to make the robots look and resemble and move like healthy people move. All right, that's the concept. That's the basic concept that you'll have behind there. So that's the goal. As you can see, most robots have not gotten to that goal. Now the Banraku puppet is up there and is close to the goal, but not necessarily at the goal because number one, of course, the Banraku puppet is a puppet. Number two, it really deals with two issues, two things: affinity and movement. Let me say it again: affinity and movement. How you relate, how likable the robot is, and also how it moves. Those are the two major reasons, the major criteria that you have to um, ascertain where a robot would be on this uncanny valley graph, right? So, unfortunately for us, all the robots that we saw that were androids or human-like on our shows, science fiction, etc., that we have been watching, Star Trek, uh, Blade Runner, all those robots were actually played by humans, and those humans did not really try to talk robotic. They didn't even try to move like robots. They did not do any of that, right? So their movement, okay, was good. Their movement was very human-like. Of course, they were humans, so they were also human-like. So you have those two things together, and so therefore you have a very, very high. You're very high, and you're off of the uncanny valley, but you're more on the uncanny mountain, if you will, right? So understanding that, that's what the this graph is about. It's about affinity and it's about movement. If a robot does not move in a specific way, then you're going to have a little feeling of uneasiness, right? Even if it looks like a human, if it does not move like a human, you're going to have a problem. Also, conversely, if a thing moves like a human but does not look like a human, you may have some problems as well, right? Not much, as we can see from the industrial robot. You're not gonna, it's really really kind of it's really three-dimensional, if you will, right? So that's what that figure shows. So if you were confused about the figure, that's what that graph shows, right? As you climb, as you get to more affinity, or as the Japanese call it, the shinwakan, okay? This likability, this relatability, as you get closer to the higher, the human likeness. So it's a scale. All right. Let me see what else I wrote. I wrote a couple of actions. So also, like, industrial robots are not aesthetically pleasing. We don't really care how they look because they serve one purpose. They serve a purpose in industry. So we don't really care what they look like, right? However, now I want to put this out here too, and we'll talk about this a little later, that there are some industrial robots now that have eyes, right? Baxter is a robot. We'll talk about Baxter in a little bit. The reason why they have Baxter with eyes is because the humans, right, that work with him need to have a clear conscience to understand where he's going. So what happens is Baxter is an industrial robot. Let's say Baxter is going to the right. So Baxter's eyes, watch my eyes, Baxter's eyes will shift to the right. So he's picking something up, and he'll shift to the left, so you'll know exactly where he's putting the things at. All right. Now, why is that important? Because you don't want that, because people like Kaija think that robots are going to take over the world. They're just going to do whatever they want to do. Right. And so there is a genuine sense, because of, again, the movement of these industrial robots. They're kind of like, psh, without thought for, oh, excuse me, I didn't see you there, right? So they do that so that you have an idea of what motions the robot is making, so therefore you won't be afraid. Basically, a lot of these things are safety bumps in safety parameters and safeguards so that humans feel more comfortable. Well, which is true because, of course, robots are supposed to be for humans. All right. So that's another thing. So, of course, toy robots want their robots to be as soft and wonderful and fine as possible. They want those things. Why? Because they want people to purchase the robots. So, of course, they're going to make sure that humans have an affinity, a high affinity toward the robot. All right. So that is what's going on. Let me see what else. I had a couple of other things. Oh, let's talk about this prosthetic hand thing, right? Why is the prosthetic hand in the Uncanny Valley? Why is the prosthetic hand in the Uncanny Valley? That doesn't make any sense to me, right? But the reality is this. Here's the reality. The prosthetic hand, okay, it looks a little real, but because its movement, all right, these prosthetic hands that they have, the prosthetic feet, whatever, it's a little weird because they don't move just like flesh. They don't look like flesh, right? And they don't move like normal flesh. So now you're gonna have this issue, you're gonna have this uneasy, this eerie, this uncanny feeling, right? That's going on. So it's, even though it looks human, its movement and its predictabilities don't allow it to be raised up on the chart there, because of course there's this unlikability, because it looks weird and it doesn't, and it moves weird, right? They have not been, they are getting better. Scientists are getting better at doing human skin, but it's still not perfect. All right, still not perfect. Um, Let me see. It talks about the Bunraku puppet. Why doesn't it work in my other hand?
Here's a Wikipedia article on Puppet, the company. Puppet is a privately held
Who's
information
talking?
technology automation.
Alexa, stop. Alexa's minding my business, y'all. Okay. Yes. Yeah, I should have probably had to. I'm gonna have to delete that part out. Okay. But it's the effect. There's effective movement. There's the effective movement. If you go down to the bottom, all right. It talks about, again, the when you talk about movement, as you can see, the peaks shift higher, right? The peaks shift higher, and the Uncanny Valley is a little lower. Zombies, all right, even though they're human-like, all right, they still move funny, and so this movement idea is really, it's really about affinity, how likable, how relatable, how comfortable you are with the thing, and also about the movement. That's what this article is really talking about. Are you really comfortable? Do you really like this thing? Are you really comfortable? Now, in the bigger picture, why do we care? Well, healthcare workers, all right, and this is very interesting now because we're in the coronavirus, but healthcare workers are being worked very hard. In Japan right now, there's a large elderly population. So we don't have enough healthcare workers to work with these elderly people. So what do? We give them robots, right? We want the robots to be as inviting, as appealing, as aesthetically appealing as possible, so that the elderly can feel a sense of ease that they are being cared for and taken care of good, and also by something that it does not scare them, right? Why do you think, you ever been to maybe downtown with these puppet things that they're outside, the people in their masks and stuff like that? You know why little kids don't like those things? Because first of all, the proportions are crazy, right? And they're very, very I'm trying to say who this is. And it's just nuts, right? Their proportions are too big. They move funny. They move like humans. They look crazy. That happens all the time. And one of the reasons why is because it's really sad. It's really sad. Okay, so I'm getting some comments from some of your classmates. Uh, I'm gonna have to. It's gonna take me some time to get through these things. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, listen, I'm done. If you have any questions, please shoot me a question in the discussion post. I did a discussion post, and what's the discussion? Discussion one, and do it in the class. Don't do it in the private comment. Do it under the class comment. All right. That way I can make a difference. Also, before I leave, and I got about 20 seconds. I want to keep this in 15 minutes. Also, please go on Jupiter Grades. Log in every class on Jupiter Grades. Every class, log in on Jupiter Grades. Okay, that way we'll be able to take your attendance. That's how you can take your attendance. All right, log in every class Jupiter Grade. We're gonna get some feedback. On, we're gonna get some feedback. Everybody's calling me. This is what I'm talking about. Yes. Okay. So, all right. Thank you so much for dropping by. We'll see you tomorrow, this same time. All right. Try to join the Google Meets. It's easier when we're talking to people. All right. Thank you very much. You have a wonderful day.